Do you accept the premise we should deter court packing?
In general, yes.
Do you accept the premise if Republicans pack the court, it will deter future court packing?
Yeah, all else again, that is going to be context dependent. I mean,
therefore, conclusion: Republicans should pack the court to deter court packing. Explain to me why that's not the case. Go ahead, explain it to me, Pisco. You don't like it when people play the syllogism game with you.
No, it's invalid, Rob.
For fuck's sakes, let's go to the proportionality. I think the fact that the proportionality argument shows that you're suggesting something that's disproportional, in this case, adding as many as 4 justices, proves that you're doing something that's above disproportionality. This means that we should reject it on premise 4, and to the extent that it's not, it proves that stopping Bork from being put there, which materially led to gay marriage getting put in because we had liberal Kennedy, means that it would be proportional to stop a liberal justice from being put in. That's my argument with proportionality.
I don't agree, because I think that affecting like the decision of who gets to place a nominee, that is just like way and above different than like a modification, even if I granted that it was a qualifying partisan injury, of just like changing the ideology of it significantly or even subtly.
I disagree, and I can prove that you don't believe it.
Let me respond, please. Let me respond, okay? So Merrick Garland was considered a centrist pick already, right? So even if I agreed it was a norm violation, and even if I agreed that there was a partisan injury, I don't think it would justify you to totally prevent Barack Obama from picking anyone from like a centrist to like an ultra left-wing person. I think that going beyond into essentially what your hypothetical about nominating Neil Gorsuch, that would be like way disproportionate, and certainly just rejecting doing a 2-seat effect would be disproportionate to just like an adjustment of the ideology.
And here we have again Pisco's proprietary definitions and utterances that mean things that he wants and don't actually mean the words. What this always gets to is there's this ambiguous threshold thing. So now what he says is the reason that it's different, right? The reason that they should be allowed to add as many as 4 justices, but that's not disproportional, but it would be disproportional to just stop Merrick Garland, which, by the way, if Democrats win that next election, it doesn't affect them in any negative way whatsoever. They then get to appoint a Democrat. So they at least had a chance, unlike adding 4 justices, which would have no chance for any reciprocity. The reason he says that adding 4 justices is something that's proportional, but the Merrick Garland thing wouldn't be if Bork was an injurious behavior, is because at least it's the act of picking that matters. If you were forced to pick someone that had outcomes that were antithetical to sort of your agenda, that doesn't matter. What really mattered was you got to pick. Then he goes, except with Obama. Because Obama could have also picked, but the magic range of who he could have picked from was somehow different. Now, this is absurd.
Yeah, but Anthony Kennedy was conservative.
This is absurd for 2 reasons. Anyone in their right mind would say it is disproportional with what happened to Merrick Garland to suggest packing 4 seats, or to even packing 1, by the way, but to suggest packing 4 seats. It is clearly above and beyond the pale that that's disproportional, and we'll get to reasons why. But it also is more of a gap of disproportionality between what happened to Merrick Garland and adding 4 seats to the court versus what happened to Bork and then stopping Merrick Garland. That amount of disproportion is much smaller than adding 4 fucking seats because of what happened to Merrick Garland.
Let me explain. What happened to Merrick Garland, I think, is rightfully calculated as the equivalent of 2 seats. 2 seats in with respect to nomination terms. And in terms of ideology, I mean, we're talking hardcore conservatives in the form of Neil
they could have won the election.
Neil Gorsuch and Neil Gorsuch versus
won the election.
Okay, that's not what we're arguing though, right?
Sure, there was a remedy.
Okay. Yeah, no, but it's indexed to what's available now, right? We're talking about what's justified now, not what was justified at the time or whatever, right?
Okay, well, the Bork thing, it was indexed what was justified at the time of Garland that they got. Yeah. Okay, so therefore it was still good.
I'm trying to wait. I'm trying to address your points, right? You raise points, and I haven't even started really addressing them until, and you still want to go to the next one. Let's just address what you just said, right? So we have 2 and 2. Pretty conservative justices, in terms of the composition of the court with what happened with Trump and with Merrick Garland's seat. And in the case of Bork versus Anthony Kennedy, Anthony Kennedy was the deciding vote on Citizens United. Anthony Kennedy was more conservative than he is liberal. He really was, in my opinion, conservative. On 2 key culture issues, he went with the Democrats. That's on Obergefell. And the gay rights stuff, and then on abortion, upholding it slightly in Casey versus Roe. But in general, I think that is not the same kind of magnitude as what was entailed by the Merrick Garland thing, and maybe it would justify reducing the leftiness of Obama's, if all the other things went through, Obama's justice from like ultra Sonia Sotomayor to someone like Merrick Garland, but that's not what happened with respect to Merrick Garland.
Okay, so I just want to let you know what Pisco, that mush mouth, just rambling on thing, what he wants you to believe is, that's his explanation why adding 4 seats isn't disproportional to Merrick Garland, but Merrick Garland, what happened to him is disproportional for Bork.
No.
I'd like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Proton VPN. My audience knows I'm a huge tech boomer, and so I started using Proton VPN to stop with the constant tracking, and it's been a game changer. Proton VPN hides your IP from websites, advertisers, and the government, so you could access the web without being tracked. Proton VPN has a strict no logs policy that's been verified by independent security audits, and it has unlimited bandwidth even on the free option. Click the link in the description to try Proton VPN 100% free. It helps the show, and more importantly, it empowers you to take control of your internet privacy. That's that rambling bullshit.
No,
that's what he wants you to believe.
So I'm comparing.
Remember, now let me finish, and then remember what I said.
Wait, you're wrong.
I don't care. You'll have
you're mischaracterizing me.
You'll have your chance to argue I'm wrong after I finish the point. Now, remember what I said is he's gonna change definitions of words and these utterances and get lost in the minutia to make you believe something that's laughable on its face. Ask yourself this. Ask yourself this. Do you think it's disproportionate? It's more disproportional to add 4 fucking seats because what happened to Merrick Garland, as opposed to stop Merrick Garland and give Democrats a chance to win an election because of what happened to Bork?
Yeah, so
no matter
I was
what
comparing,
he says, that's what he wants you to believe.
So you're mischaracterizing me. I was comparing the proportionality as to what happened to Merrick Garland to assumedly norm-violated Bork and versus Kennedy. And I was saying that I think that Merrick Garland versus Bork, the Merrick Garland response would be disproportionate. Now you're kind of pushing about, well, what about the proportionality with respect to Merrick Garland and then to the proposed court pack of Ro Khanna, right?
Yeah,
I can address that next if you'd like.
But yes, that was my original argument, which you disputed, that the disproportionality in proportion was smaller when it came to Bork versus Kennedy than when it came to Kennedy versus packing 4 times. Now, also I'll address this, right? The fact that the outcomes you're arguing previously don't matter. It's not that the outcomes matter. That's what you said. It doesn't matter. Hey, Republicans ended up pointing to Democrats, whatever. That doesn't matter. That's what you made there. Now what you're trying to do is say, well, Kennedy to Bork, that outcome wasn't so bad that Garland to whoever. It doesn't matter. Both were norms violations that prevented getting in, or allegedly were norm violations that were injurious, that prevented the person that one side really wanted and the other side really disliked. Both times, apples to apples.
Yeah. So
now explain why packing 4 seats is not more disproportionate.
I'm addressing what you said. So you mischaracterized me. And what I was responding to initially was the proportionality as between Bork and Merrick Garland. So I made that clear. So now you're asking, well, if that's disproportionate, how can it be proportionate to have a 2 additional with respect to the proposal by Ro Khanna? I think the answer is simple, that in the range of probable outcomes, given the ideological, the partisan affiliation of the nominated person, that just has a tendency to affect outcomes way, way, way more than differences within a conservative jurist. And so obviously, I'm just like way more sensitive to those kinds of those injuries, the magnitude of those injuries by virtue of who the nominating party is. And with respect to the 4, this is why I think it's proportional. I think you're able to, so I'll explain why. I think you're able to increment to the next feasible step, and the next. Why are you? I'm trying to explain.
Okay, I'm allowed to laugh at your ridiculous argument. What's the problem? Just go.
Wait. What's
your argument's ridiculous.
What's
Keep
your
going.
It's ridiculous. In virtue of what is it ridiculous?
It is ridiculous to say that you get to add 4 seats because you're upset with Merrick Garland.
Why?
And that's completely justified because it is clearly disproportional. At the best, you could say that Merrick Garland was a 2-person swing.
That's just repeating the claim.
At best, you could say that Merrick Garland was a 2-person swing because it was a net 1 for Republicans instead of net 1 for Democrats. You're suggesting adding 4. That is a 4-person swing. That's bigger than 2, hence disproportional.
Yeah, so it's disproportional beyond mild deterrence. Do you understand that?
No. We're not getting to mild deterrence yet. Your whole argument with what we were saying with Bork.
Wait.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So
Bork. What happened to Garland was mild deterrence. To the effect that it was disproportional was mild deterrence. Yep.
No, it was greater than that. No, it was.
Define mild deterrence.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is bad faith. I think you and I have a notion of
what is mild deterrence?
Why are you putting your hands in there? Yeah. So I understand mild deterrence to be a kind of signal to disincentivize, further action in this realm, or at least to make it known, right? To make it known that if you are going to act in a given way, there will be a response by the other party. So it's either one of those things, either to that it would actually effectively deter you from doing something, or at least give them the signal that if you take an action, we'll respond in kind, and will make it hurt even more. So it effectuates in both those kinds of ways. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, so first off, now you're agreeing that it is disproportional.
A
yes or no will suffice. Is it is adding 4 seats disproportional? Yes or no?
It's
just answer.
It's disproportional.
Thank you.
It's disproportional because it's not 2.
Now
it's disproportional, not 2, but it's.
Now let me. I don't need your explanation. You just gave a big explanation.
Let me fully respond. Let me fully respond.
You acknowledge it's disproportional.
Let me fully respond.
You're just saying that it's justified because it's mild deterrence.
No, you're equivocating.
You want to repeat the screen that you just said.
You're equivocating. You're equivocating. So you're equivocating. So when you take the disproportionate, you're going to take that as overall it's disproportionate. It's not 2, and therefore by definition it's not 100% proportional, but it's proportional with respect to additional to mild deterrence. That's what I'm saying.
So again, what he did was just repeated what he said, but he's trying to reference it in a slightly different way.
You're bad faith.
He acknowledges, no, what you are is bad faith. This is what's so slimy. Why can't he just say, yeah, it's disproportional, but it's justified? He can't say that. He can't say, well, it's a disproportional. I don't know. Let me explain. Wait. It's
no, because you're going to.
Let me justify. You've been trying to say it's disproportional because
this is why. This is why. So Rob, this is why. Rob, this is why. Rob, this is why. Rob, this is why. Because you're going to try to take that package disproportionate and have it imply that it's failing on proportionality, the premise of proportionality, and that's something I'm not going to let you do, Rob, because you're bad faith and a hack.
So again, proportionality, disproportional now no longer means what it does, because disproportionality.
See, you just did it. Right, you just did it, you fucking hack.
So here we go. So here's Pisco's this big thing. I'm advocating something that's disproportional, but I think I should be allowed. And my hack opponent's going to point out that it's disproportional. Aha, see, I prevented the argument by saying that he was a hack.
You're equivocating on proportionality. You're equivocating on proportionality.
So,
wait, Avi, do you understand?
What you need to say. I'm going to go to the restroom. Keep rambling on. Yeah. Yep, go ahead.
Do you understand my objection?
So
the objection is...
Yeah, my understanding is the proportionality premise doesn't just say merely proportional. It says proportional beyond mild deterrence. So whether something succeeds or not in the proportionality premise is going to succeed or not in virtue of its proportional beyond mild deterrence, not merely whether it's proportional or not.
Correct. And so that's what I'm trying to prevent that being the impression that what I'm suggesting is that I'm failing on my proportionality premise. I'm not failing on my proportionality premise on my view. I'm succeeding on my proportionality premise. But he might take the fact that I said it's disproportionate to mean that I'm failing on the proportionality premise. That's why I think it's bad faith equivocation.
I understand.
My headphones are dying, and so just give me a quick second to change them real quick.
Sure.
And let Rob know that I'm doing that, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I will. So Pisco is changing his headphones right now.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Avi, if I may, I do feel you.
I don't think you're characterizing it fairly, but go ahead.
I disagree, and now for what it's worth, my entire audience almost unanimously agrees.
I bet they do. I bet they do. They're wrong.
Why do you think that is?
Because there's polarization. I'm sure if you looked at okay.
Do you think Pisco's audience is feeling you've done the same?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe to some degree, but
I bet they don't.
What I expect that's happening. I expect I am what is happening here is not an alignment on politics. What's happening here is a closer alignment on debate norms and what you might call like logic bro stuff. So my type of preference is to have a very linear debate, and to, if there's a premise that something hinges on, and when I just said, okay, wait a minute, it seems like you guys, like, this is a relevant thing that you should argue for me to bring that up instead of just skipping over, people on your side might just say, oh, well, Rob kind of wanted to skip over it, and so because Avi is asking, don't you guys want to stay linear, that might indicate bias. But really, that seems
Even
like
the framing of this indicates bias, in my opinion.
Okay, well,
In my opinion, I'm not pissed or anything.
Wait,
I'm just giving my
wait.
opinion.
If it's a bias not in terms of ideology. It's a bias in terms of a certain type of debate norm and structure. It's you might call it more of a debate bro, logic bro sort of thing, but that's where it's coming from. It's not coming from like I agree with Pisco's side of the debate here.
I disagree with your characterization there as well. I don't think that that's where it's coming. I think it's from every time you've interjected on that, a reasonable person would say, to the extent that it's been nonlinear, both of us would have had sort of an equal way. And yet every time we go to it, what happens is you're always sort of leaning towards the side of Pisco. Every time.
So I'm not sure about that, Rob. I'm not sure about every time it's been on nonlinear, or if there's been a tracking issue, or there's been an interruption, not that it was not on my norm to be a justified interruption. It was equal. I'll be honest. I'm not convinced of that. But here's what I can assure you of: when there was a issue where I detected that Pisco made a mistake, or something that was misleading, I did interject. I did say, well, actually, it does fall under it. When he misspoke, I did come.
I guess it's my preference that the moderator not be involved as much.
Oh, then I can leave. That's fine.
No. The moderator is sort of that's normally. I don't care. Once it was obvious you're going to be involved, I was like, well, we'll make you part of the debate.
No, the reason I got obvious, and listen, I
don't really care about this matter. We have
conversation
limited time. I was just talking to him because you were gone for a second. I'm happy to get back to the debate. I'll talk to Avi about it later. I'm not mad. I'm just saying that's the perception. That's all.
My goal here is, and if I'm failing in this goal, that's fine. My goal here is to advance the conversation and to force linearity and to stop that's my main goals here. Now, if you guys think that it would be better for you to understand each other and to have a linear debate without me trying to understand or confirming that things are being understood, then I can drop. That's totally fine.
I don't think that's the case.
I'm not that upset. I just made a point of contention while Pisco is gone. All right, next. What he was saying was that I'm, quote, equivocating about disproportionality. Now, as he's about to rage, because he knows this is such a weak point. Again, always remember what his goal is here. It's not about justice, it's about partisan power, and then he's trying to post hoc justify. If this was just about justice, eye for an eye, proportionality matters. But it's not. He advocates beyond it. And the reason he advocates beyond it is because it's not about a concept of neutrality or justice, it's about a concept of power for his side. That's why he's advocating, at the same time of this, a bunch of stuff that goes beyond this idea of self-defense, such as adding states, such as giving legislative control over justices, rules that they can force on them, such as ending the filibuster, etc. He advocates for all of this at the same time, not because this is about justice or neutrality. If it was really about justice, and this was the point Ryan was getting to him, then he would at best say that we would pack twice. One, packing the court and adding seats is actually worse than just refusing to give advice and consent. That is obviously worse, right? There were remedies that Democrats could have had. They could have won the next election, which would have been a remedy. They could still have a remedy in that they could do the exact same reciprocal when they get their chance and they have the House and the Senate. So that follows that premise that said that this is the only thing. However, the proportionality portion of it shows that he wants an excuse to say we should be allowed to do more than what anyone reasonably would consider equality and justice and getting back. And so he's like, with Bork, he says, no, it's disproportional from what happened to Bork to Garland. I'll say two things then. One, sure, maybe I don't think it's disproportional, but to the effect it is, it's only, quote, mild deterrence. That's number one. And secondly, I think that what he's suggesting is laughable, that there is some reason that mild deterrence is something that should factor in to the concept of neutrality or justice. Furthermore, it's not mild deterrence. If I prove it's not mild deterrence, would that mean that the premise thing goes away? Because you've already acknowledged it's disproportional.
Are you asking me a question?
Yes,
there's a lot there I want to respond to.
Yes,
so the first is
question I just asked. I asked you a question. Can you respond?
Yeah. So
yes
if it's disproportionate, disproportionate, I need to understand what you're asking. Are you asking if it fails the premise? Does the argument argument unsound? Is that what you're asking?
If it overshoots in a way that's not mild deterrence.
Yeah, the argument's unsound.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I prove that adding 4 seats is beyond mild deterrence, that would prove that the premise is unsound.
The argument, yeah, for specifically for the 4, yeah.
Can you define
greater,
what deterrence or mild deterrence is?
Yeah, so I understand deterrence to be some kind of indication that bad outcomes will happen, and to induce others to, to understand that and to refrain from doing it, perhaps, or at least to understand that there will be a response.
Deterrence.
Like that.
Wouldn't you say that a key part of deterrence is making it less likely that the other side does something? So if I put a sign up that says trespassers will be shot, it's deterrence because it makes it less likely that there's trespassers. That's the key part of deterrence. Makes it less likely that the outcome that you're pointing to happens. That's deterrence, correct?
No, as I I think that's one notion of deterrence, is to try to induce something, to happen less, for sure. But there's also I think a kind of longer form version of deterrence that isn't just like specifically deterring, but like system-wide deterrence, or like an understanding beyond specific deterrence to understand the costs of actions.
How about this definition? I know that we like utterances and we make some.
I'm telling you what I mean.
But we should have an objective understanding of these terms.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Do you disagree with this definition? You tell me if you disagree. Deterrence. Why don't you let me read the definition, and then maybe you'll say, yes, I agree with that.
It's a derail. It is not a derail. Why are we entertaining this?
It is not a derail.
If
we're trying to figure out exactly what you mean, how is me defining the term and then you agreeing or disagreeing with the definition of derail?
Because it's better for me to just say it.
No, I disagree, because I wouldn't give the definition. You tell me if you think this is incorrect.
Why is that going to elucidate what I mean?
Why are you so against defining terms? Why are you so against
I want to define
that
it.
we look to define terms?
No,
by the way, if a judge is deciding, just to be clear, so let's say there's something in a law, right? Let's say the term insurrection. Is a judge, when he decides this case, say it's just whatever I feel insurrection means?
Yeah,
or do they have clear definitions that they use precedents and what other people in the courts have said? Which way do they do it?
This is so that's an equivocation in terms of the means and methods and what's.
You keep using that term. I don't think you know what it means. Is that another utterance? You don't know what it means?
So
why can't I give the definition of deterrence and you tell me if you agree or not?
No, I think that you don't understand, because what I mean by deterrence is likely, it's not necessarily the same as what you're reading from. So to understand my meaning,
definition, this is how you define things. This is how you define deterrence. Is kind of like, sometimes that you do something, and in times it's been that something that would dissuade, but
you're so bad faith, bro.
Always the case. Blah, blah, blah.
You
give a definition that's mealy mouthed in like 40 words. I'm trying to give a concise definition. You tell me if you agree or disagree. Ready?
Yeah.
Deterrence. You ready?
Yeah. So no, I'm not gonna entertain this.
You're not going to allow me to read a definition of deterrence.
No. So I think it's better. I think it's better. I think it's better. I think it's better if I explain what I mean by the term. Right? What's wrong with that?
I want you to write down the definition, then share the screen so I can move off. Do it. Write it down.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'll write it in our group.
Write it down. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll write it in a group chat.
Stop talking. Right.
And I have no problem.
Please pause. Everyone mute until you write it.
I have no problem writing down what I mean by the term deterrence.
Write it down.
But I just want to.
Stop talking. Write it down.
So I'm just gonna. So I'm just gonna. So 100%. 100%.
Write it down. I'm not listening. Write down the definition.
Yeah. So I'm gonna finish my sentence. I'm gonna finish my sentence. If you don't let me finish the sentence, I'm gonna finish my sentence. Right. So I'm gonna finish my sentence. So just so the audience understands what I'm saying, that the appeal to the dictionary, the move that he just did, is completely irrelevant to what I mean. And so even though I have no problem writing down and
wow, quite the sentence you got going here. Write the fucking
definition
down.
Even though I have no problem, and I have written down and fixed my meanings and haven't deviated from them, and to the extent that I am, I'm open-minded about the whole process.
The longest fucking run-on I've ever heard. Write the definition.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to diffuse the bad faith shit that you just did. So I'm trying to diffuse that because you are a bad faith hack.
Because I'm asking for a concise definition, as opposed to your bullshit that you keep sliding the definition the whole time. Write the definition down, Pisco. Pisco, just write. Does everyone see this? He won't accept the definition. He won't write down the definition. He won't. He has to ramble on. Write the definition, and we'll see if it's a good definition.
Come on, Rob.
So Rob, what I'm doing is diffusing the bad faith bullshit that you just did. I'm happy to fix my meanings and to keep them consistent, but what is bad faith is to suggest that I have to pick whatever your notion of the objectively true, correct definition is. That's what the bad faith move is. So I'm going to start writing what I mean by deterrence in this context.
Write down. As you write it, I'll read the definition of deterrence. Quote, the act or process of discouraging actions or preventing occurrences by instilling fear or doubt or anxiety. As Pisco writes, let me explain what he's doing. He constantly wants these words. Again, his whole thing was we have to have a meaning. Right? Avi was all in this, listening to the first time. He was explaining it, right? The whole first topic about Ryan, it's to be good faith, we have to have a mutual understanding of what we're talking about. Literally, every term that matters in this, he's like, I have my own definition. These are just utterances that I have proprietary definitions of that I'll make up. Most of the time, he gives the definition and then he's sliding it back and forth in strategic ways. All of it's designed to say, all of these words and the way to define them, it's going to be that only in this exact position with the Democrats are they justified in adding 4 seats. Now we see that it's not just tit for tat, it's not eye for eye. He acknowledges, yes, it is disproportional, but now it's disproportional because of mild deterrence. Now he knows damn well that the conventional definition of deterrence is actions that are designed to try to prevent these bad actions from happening in the future. He knows that he's going to lose on that debate. So he's like, uh-oh, I now have to pretend deterrence means something completely different. That way when Rob points out, actually this isn't deterrence, it's incentivizing the behavior, which is the opposite of deterrence, he'll say, no, that's not what I meant by deterrence. I didn't mean the definition that everyone else accepts. That's an appeal to a dictionary.
Okay.
Can I ask what we mean by deterrence, or will that make a biased
so
moderator?
I'm right. Yeah, so I'm just telling you what I mean by deterrence.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, so here I just wrote it down, and this is generally what I mean, capturing what I mean. Deterrence using the argument is the concept of inducing the mind of a set of actors knowledge that would tend in a reasonable person to lower the tendency to partake in a given action or at least put them on notice of a given consequence.
Okay, so here's his have you ever heard a word defined like this? If someone said to you, hey, Pisco, define deterrence. Here's his definition. You ready? Deterrence, quote, as used in the argument, is the concept of inducing in the mind of a set of actors knowledge that would tend in a reasonable person to lower the tendency to partake in a given action. Or, then he goes further, then it's or at least put them on notice of a given consequence. That is the most laughable fucking thing I have ever seen. That's laughable.
In virtue of what is it laughable?
Because it's a mealy mouth. It has nothing to do. It's only a definition given in the context of this exact situation.
No response.
Let me. I'm literally giving the response.
You're befuddled. You're befuddled.
I'm literally giving the response as you're yelling. He has no response. It is a definition that is proprietary and not just your own, but exclusive to just this situation. So it is a definition from a word that only fits in this unique situation. Then it is multi-part. First, it's super mealy-mouthed, and it's the concept of inducing in the mind of a state of actors knowledge that would lead to a reasonable person to lower the tendency or partake in a given action. I could even accept partially that definition. That's basically what deterrence means. You're doing something to make it less likely that other people do an action that you're trying to deter them from taking. But then that's not enough, because he realizes, oh shit, that's not what this is. So then he goes, or, and adds a total another part to it. Deterrence is also, at least it puts them on notice of a given consequence.
So here's what I'm trying to capture, right? So what I'm trying to capture is the notion that you might do you might do a deterrent thing, to try to induce a reasonable response in the other party. But the other party, like just because they're fucking unhinged and unreasonable, they might take it upon them to did you ever have a situation where you're trying to deter an individual, but your act of deterrence actually fuels them further, right? Because they're unreasonable and they're not.
What do you mean deter? What does that mean?
You're trying to induce in them a lower tendency to do the thing.
Oh,
right?
that's what deter means? Interesting.
Okay, so you're trying to do that, and what I'm trying to capture is that just because the fact is that you induce in a greater in a particular a greater response, that is to say, they do the thing more as a result of what would be reasonable to expect, doesn't mean that it isn't deterrent on this view. Do you understand what I'm getting at? That someone's response might be irrational.
I understand what you're trying to do. What you just said, you even slip up there. He uses the word deterrence in the conventional sense. He goes, haven't you had it where you try to deter someone, but they do it anyways? Deter mean take an action to try to prevent them or disincentivize them to take it. He uses the word deterrence correctly there. Then when he catches his mistake, he's like, oh, wait, because That's what deterrence means, as he knows. Yes, you could say that someone could see an act of deterrence and then actually it could incentivize them to do more. The way we would decide whether or not something is a deterrence is by seeing whether or not it incentivizes the behavior to slow down or it doesn't do that. Yes, that's absolutely true. So something is not.
Let me respond.
Something is not deterrence if it makes the action you're trying to deter from more likely. It is by definition then not deterrence.
Here's what I'm trying to capture, all right? And I think that you understand it because you have raised before that like in the long run, the Democrats will only learn if they get pain imposed upon them. And so over the long run, you need to be strong on reacting in kind and doing things that are provocative for the purpose of getting long-term conformity, even if their initial reaction is to sort of increase whatever they're doing, right? Do you understand that? You've said stuff like this before.
No, that's not what what your argument now is. There's short-term incentive which will lead to long-term deterrence. That's the argument you're making now.
Maybe that's the best way to put it. What I'm trying to capture though is that like just because of a given result doesn't have the desired effect of lowering the incidence doesn't mean that it's not there for a deterrent effect. That's what I'm trying to capture. Maybe I don't do it in the best words, but that's what I'm trying to capture.
No. But my point is you could say I'm trying to do this for deterrence, but if it actually incentivizes the behavior, it wasn't a deterrence. So the question isn't what you feel if it would be a deterrence. No, the question is it a deterrence? Your premise says, and I quote, your premise says it's disproportional. You agreed with that, but it doesn't overshoot beyond mild deterrence. Not only is it not deterrence, it's the opposite. Right now, for example, Republicans aren't packing the court. If you do this, the very next time that Republicans get a chance, they're going to pack the court. You have incentivized. Avi, let me just ask you, do you think that if Democrats add 4 seats when Republicans get back in, they will be more incentivized or less incentivized to pack the court themselves?
My intuition is they will be more incentivized to pack the court.
No, but
hence, it's not a deterrence.
No, listen.
Wait, I thought I was a biased moderator.
The point was so obvious.
Can I respond? Can I respond? Can I respond?
By the way, I really enjoy you, even if I do.
Wait, can I respond? Can I respond?
Yes,
is that all right?
You lost the debate, but we love it. Go for it.
No, I didn't lose it all. You're getting crushed. So here's the response. What I'm trying to capture is in the context of partisan gerrymandering, right? In partisan gerrymandering, the response by the Democrats is, listen, we're going to respond to what you did in Texas with what happened in California, and the idea is, you're gonna know that if you're going to do a tit, we're going to do a tat. And so, and that causes, by the way, the Republicans to respond in like Indiana and all these different places. But the overall idea to explain why the Democrats are doing this is to get to a point of getting rid of partisan gerrymandering in total by increasing the relative costs on the other side. Maybe in the short term, you induce some amount of increased partisan gerrymandering in that context, but with a goal to eventually get to a point in which there's a recognition that things have gone too far and that you need to fix it. That's that's the idea I'm trying to capture. I hope I'm not sure if that's coming across in what I'm saying. But
okay, let me just a couple questions, real quick answers if you don't mind. One, doesn't matter if you think it's. Let me finish.
No. You have to respond to what I just said. I'm not gonna derail.
I am responding by making.
Respond to what I just said.
I am responding. Yes, that's not deterrence, and I'll prove why that what you're suggesting right now wasn't deterrence. One, don't tell me if it's good or bad. Before this administration, had Democrats gerrymandered?
Democrats had gerrymandered before.
Okay. You would acknowledge Republicans had as well, right? But Democrats had gerrymandered. That's what's important for this argument.
Yeah, Second, respond to what I just said.
I am. Second, when Texas decided to gerrymander, did that cause Democrats to gerrymander more?
Yeah, I'm not going to entertain the derail.
Then it wasn't a deterrence. It caused them. Did that then cause Republicans to say, we're going to gerrymander in other states more?
So moderator, I want a response. I just said something, and I want him to repeat back what I said and explain. Ask him if he understands what I just said.
I understand what you said. You said it's a deterrence because even if it incentivizes behavior in the short term, ultimately the goal is to make sure this ends in the future. Right?
Yeah, that's what the concept is trying to capture.
But it's not deterrence. In the real world action, it's not deterrence. It's actually increasing. Okay, fine. I can see the argument. What Bork was doing was mild deterrence with Merrick Garland.
Wait a second. Wait.
That's it. Debate over.
Wait. It
was just mild deterrence with Merrick Garland. That's all it was.
So
the disproportionality was just mild deterrence. It was designed to, it was
Yeah,
causing
so-
pain on Democrats because we saw Clarence Thomas, we saw everything they did. So the goal that Republicans
Let's
had,
respond-
let me finish.
let's
The
ground
goal
it
that
down.
Republicans had was they were like, wow, shit's getting so partisan right now. I know what we'll do. We'll do something
So,
hyper-partisan, which will in the future disincentivize any of this partisan shit happening. Why can't I make that argument with the same veracity?
So
Why does that argument not apply?
Let's
That's the
linearize.
question. Why does that argument not
First
apply
of all,
with the same veracity?
So I'm not responding to what you just said. So
Of
first of all,
course.
we're going to get clarity on this.
Moderator, can I get a response?
So we're going to talk about the concept of deterrence as used in the argument, and that concept is trying to capture the fact that in the short term, right, like it might induce further action, just like gerrymandering, but that doesn't mean that, as used in the argument, that we're not trying to have sort of a larger systematic deterrent effect. And really, we're never going to get to the point, for example, of banning partisan gerrymandering wholesale unless the other side at one point starts to realize, hey, this is out of control. We need to do something. We need to get together because whatever this is, it's not good. That's what the argument is trying to capture. I want to make sure that you hear that and you understand that, Rob.
I understand the argument, and I reject it wholesale because it's not deterrent, saying that it obviously causes an immediate incentive to increase the bad behavior, but our hope is eventually. But now, let's go through this line by line.
Wait. Why don't we get clarity on it?
I'm going to go through a line of questioning. I'm going to go through a line of questioning. So your argument.
No. We have to finish on this point.
That's exactly what I was trying to do, to go through this line of questioning. You're right.
No, but you're asking questions about factual questions. You're asking questions of facts.
What are you talking about? Say what you need to say, and then I'll get to my point.
So you're asking questions about like what in fact happened with gerrymandering. You're asking questions about like historical facts, and we need to get clarity on whether or not you understand what the argument is saying.
My God, I said it 4 times. The argument is this. I'm going to steel man the argument. Yes.
Okay, go.
It's
an argument. It's an argument. It's a meaning of a term.
The meaning of the term deterrence is this: an action that could be taken to disincentivize something that may lead to the incentivization of it in the short term, but eventually could possibly lead to the disincentive of it. Deterrence. That's your definition.
No. That it includes a concept of a broader.
It does not. It does not. I fundamentally reject that.
Yeah.
Show me any definition of deterrence that randomly that speaks to that.
Other
than your own claims here.
I'm just saying, as using the argument, the notion of deterrence here is not just indexed to short-term deterrence. That it's also indexed to broader systematic deterrence. And
okay, let's test this
to get to a point.
So your argument is. Your argument is you think the disproportionality of this is actually a good thing. Because even though I may win in the short term, this will cause Republicans to pack the court, and then Democrats again, and then Republicans.
Yeah,
inevitably,
obviously.
down the future, this could be the catalyst for stopping.
Yes, because your side only understands one thing. Your side only understands pain. You only understand it when it affects you. And that's why the only way for you guys to internalize all the fuckery that you've done with our courts and you've done our system is to make it hurt, unfortunately.
Okay. So then the idea is this is key to doing it. In fact, you said at one point the radical things to not pack the court, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. My argument is
100%.
follows. My argument is follows then. You ready? Actually, this is bad because what happened with Bork justified for self-defense Republican being disproportional in a way that would lead to deterrence.
I don't understand what you're getting at.
Do you think what happened with Merrick Garland was a good thing?
Of course not, no.
Why not? It led to this moment, which is now leading to ultimate deterrence.
I don't. There's many other things that you need to substantiate before we get to that point.
Right, like you need to substantiate that this will eventually, 30 years down the road, lead to deterrence.
No.
You're just asserting.
No. The initial norm violation. You need to establish all the other premises of the argument. You didn't.
We did all of that. We did, like, the idea. I just want people to encapsulate.
You failed completely. Failed completely.
Remember when I said what Pisco's going to do? Now what this guy wants you to believe is this. Actually,
you failed.
Instead of eye for an eye, I'll just keep repeating myself. Instead of eye for an eye, we should actually be allowed to pack 4 seats, which is that's disproportional. However, you might think, wait a minute, that's more than eye for eye. That's actually because of deterrence. Of course, yes. Let me finish. Of course, yes, it's the opposite of deterrence. It'll incentivize it. But maybe hypothetically, 40 years down the road, this will lead to a deterrence. After we have an incentive to keep it up and do a lot more.
So let me give you. This is capturing. This notion of deterrence is capturing a lot of our intuitions, and I'll tell you why. So let's just say law, for example. there is a notion of punitive damages, right? And punitive damages go beyond the initial injury, right? Those are incentivized to deter. Now, if you happen to have individuals, for example, like Alex Jones and other of these insane people, who the imposition of punitive damages or insane costs is actually a motivating factor. Like for Trump, for instance, you might argue, right? The fact that they went after him, the fact that they charged him or something, incentivized him to do more bad stuff and to go back after his own enemies. And so, charging people with crime, that's supposed to have a deterrent effect, isn't it? But the truth is, it is in our intuitions that in self-defense context, you're not just allowed to hit back with the same exact force as what was done to you. You're allowed to go a little bit further, right? If someone comes at you to hit you with a punch, our normal moral intuitions is you're not just allowed to punch them back, you're allowed to do a little bit more. Maybe you can tackle them, maybe that you can hit them with a fucking bat, and that would be proportional in that context. And so I think that this notion of deterrence, which is indexed to not just any individual, but instead indexed to reasonable people, and then also that there are long-term systemic interests, is tracking aspects of our society and our moral intuitions about self-defense.
Okay, it's not reasonable, right? Because a reasonable person would say, oh, you packed the court and added 4 seats, then we're going to do the same. That's what a reasonable person, and I would say that despite my procrastinations of our great moderator Avi here and how things have went, Avi seems like an eminently reasonable guy, and his immediate intuition was like, of course this is going to incentivize the Republicans to do the same.
No, but he understands what I'm saying.
I would say that he might understand what you're saying, but he's literally saying the opposite. Actually, this wouldn't be a deterrence, it would incentivize. Now, you get around this by saying, but hypothetically it could say, this notion of deterrence could literally justify doing anything. You could say, actually, yeah, I could say, you know what would be deterrence? You know what would be deterrence? If we completely end making stealing illegal. If we end it, that would be deterrence. You want to know why? Because it'll incentivize everyone to steal for like the next 30 to 40 years. But then maybe 40 years from now, people will be so fed up with it that they'll decide that they'll get even harsher against stealing.
Can I address that example? Is that okay?
Yes.
Wait, yeah. So there, right, indexed to a reasonable person, we don't think that that's what's likely to have an effect in the long run,
a reasonable
right?
Person, like Avi just told you, the effect is it'll lead to Republicans backing.
No. But like, so it disproves your argument that this notion of deterrence would allow for anything to be considered deterrence, right? Like if you gave people, for example, let's give you an example. We're rewarding people. We're giving them money in exchange for them doing theft. No reasonable person is going to say that's deterrent on this view. No reasonable person would say it would.
That is exactly my point. That is exactly my point. You don't think a reasonable person could say, you don't think a reasonable person could believe this. Hypothetically, if thefts go up 500%, we might get harsher on thefts. Could a reasonable person say that? Yes or no?
And all else equal, a reasonable person, if you increase costs, if you increase punishment, will be deterred, right?
That's not the question I asked. I said, would a reasonable person come to this conclusion? If thefts go up 500% in the next 5 years, it might cause us to crack down harder on theft, which would lower it from status quo levels. Could a reasonable person come to that conclusion?
That people might crack down more on theft. Yeah, they might.
Okay. Well, then, if you accept that yes, people might say if we go up 500%, it could cause us to crack down, which would be more of a deterrence. And then the next step is once you accept, yes, they might do that. Okay, then if we stop prosecuting crime right now, it'll lead to 500% increase. Therefore, it's a deterrent.
I'm not so sure that follows on my.
Why doesn't it? Logically, it follows.
You're gonna have to connect it again. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. No,
You're
it does not.
acknowledging if crime
in general,
goes up,
the intuition is clear.
Say that could lead to crushing crime, and so therefore, if we incentivize crime now, that could lead to crime going up, which will lead to deterring it more in the future.
This intuition should be one that you share, which is in general, increasing costs in response to an action deters that action, all else equal. Right?
It's not
you agree
true.
with that intuition?
That is not true. What you're saying, because the analogy is so ridiculous. Okay, all right. If that's what we're gonna like, you can see the ridiculous.
I didn't hear you. What did you just say?
You could say that it's not true. That's
no.
Not
I lost audio for a second. What did you say?
I'm saying that no, that's not true. It is clear that this would be a direct incentive to Republicans. This isn't like saying, hey, if you do this, we'll lock you up. This is saying we're doing something that's legal that you also will able to legally do. However, when we're doing it for partisan reasons, but you won't do it because why wouldn't Republicans do it? Because they're afraid that Democrats will do what they've already done?
Yeah, so I think that when Republicans start to learn that Democrats are willing to give it back and that they're willing to fight on all these grounds,
and Clarence Thomas and Kavanaugh, we saw what Democrats did.
Let me respond to what you're saying. That when Democrats start to give it back and play by their rules and do the things that they are doing to us,
When
that
did the
maybe
Republicans
they'll
pack
think
4
twice. This is, by the way, so maybe they'll think twice the next time they try to do some more fuckery.
Okay, play by
And
their rules. Play by their rules. When did they add 4 seats?
Wait. Pause. And this is something that you believe too, because I've heard you say this. I've heard you say this.
That's not true.
I've heard.
Go ahead. Show me saying.
Yes, you
show me
believe it
saying.
too. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Show me what
No,
say
the concept.
No.
concept.
What did you just say? I've said before. Quote it. Go ahead.
No,
and then show me the video.
I'm not
where
quoting
I
you.
said
I'm not quoting you directly in terms of the
so I haven't
terminology.
said that.
This argument that you've levied is the Democrats will only understand what they did was wrong and politicizing the DOJ when it's done to them too. That's what you said.
The exact same standard.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
That's
No.
what.
No.
Yes.
No.
Show me
No,
ever suggesting going
you go beyond that too. But first of all, let's just grant it for now. Let's just grant it for now. Let's say exact same for now. Wait, you're fucked. All right,
What
let's
the
just say
fuck
for now,
are you
right?
talking
Do you
about?
think? Wait. Let's talk about it, right? Let's say that we were to do a 2-court pack, not 4, 2. Would Republicans be incentivized to do it on your view?
Yes.
Back.
Yes.
Okay. And you would argue in favor of them doing back, right?
Correct.
Exact same, right? Okay.
Correct.
So now let's go.
If they added 4, add 4.
So,
That's what not 6, not 12, 4. Yes. Reciprocal.
Do you know what Ryan Mullally says to you in response when you say we need to go after the Democrats the way they came after us? Ryan
Correct.
says if you do that, they're going to come back harder against you.
Correct.
And you believe him, don't you? But do you know what you say in
No.
response? No.
I say that the status quo
sorry,
is this is what I said. That I'm arguing from a stance of neutrality, that the same treatment should be proffered to them that's proffered to us, not that excess treatment should be. Never.
No.
Show me once ever saying excess.
Wait.
For deterrence, show me ever saying that.
Let's first deal with the situation in which there's actual equal, okay? Then we can go to the one beyond. You have granted that even though in the short term perhaps it might increase the Democrats' tendency to do political prosecutions on your view against Republicans, that you still think that it's justified to do the same standard because you think they'll only learn if the pain is actually brought to them. You said that, haven't you?
The difference is, right? The difference is, what are you laughing about?
It's different.
Where's my syllogism that says
aren't I?
where's my syllogism that says we could be disproportional because of
No,
deterrence? Where's the syllogism of that? So it doesn't matter if I think it's a deterrence or not. It doesn't matter.
So your notion of deterrence is the exact same as mine on that ground.
No, that's not true.
No, wait, you just fucked up. You just fucked up big time, right?
What
because
the fuck
you said
are
the exact same thing.
I mean, I don't.
So
I don't
I'll
know what to
explain
say.
again. I'll explain. Maybe I'll explain to Avi.
I say equal
maybe
treatment.
I'll explain to Avi.
You're like, aha! That proves that you're
let's see if Avi understands. Wait. Let's see if So I'll explain to Avi and let's see if he can reproduce it. So I will say on Rob's view, he has argued before that deterrence can be achieved through reciprocal action against the Democrats by Republicans. Reciprocal action against the Democrats, and even if it induces in the short term Democrats to act crazy, in the long term the Democrats only understand pain and only understand power, and that they'll only learn when it's applied to them. And so he understands that this notion of like short to long term concurrence, and so on his view it's not this crazy notion of deterrence that's beyond any reasonability. Do you understand that, Avi?
My understanding correct. So you're saying that, okay, well, Rob also has this notion of the same shared notion of deterrence that you do. The reason he has a shared notion of deterrence that you do is because he also believes that if the other party were treated this way, if they were treated reciprocally, that eventually they might get the lesson, and they might. Now, what I anticipate a response might be from Rob is that, well, that's with mere reciprocity. That's not with
I understand, but no. I have a response to that, but let's first grant that notion that just because no. But I was very clear that that's what I was doing, Avi, right? So I'm happy to go to the escalation, but first, this notion of like short-term inducement but long-term deterrence is one that he shares in the abstract. You understand that, right?
Okay.
Well, yes.
So my wait. So my understanding is okay. So there's at least some shared notion in some conditions that there's like this reasonable notion that, okay, well, if we could argue about if it's only with mere reciprocity or if that breaks down beyond mere reciprocity, but at least there's some notion of eventually it reaches some stable point where there's like, okay,
Correct.
we're not going to
And he shares that notion. It's not a ridiculous notion. It's one that we both share.
Do you share that notion, Rob?
Here's what I share. I share that theoretically makes sense, but it's completely irrelevant to this for two reasons. One, because it's irrelevant to whether or not something is just or neutral. He is arguing that we go beyond just or neutrality. And you heard him say, because in his opinion, the only thing Republicans understand is pain. That's why we need to do it. And it's okay for Democrats to go further and be more than reciprocal. It's okay because in his belief, the only thing Republicans understand is pain. I don't need to, under premise 4, under my theory, have the idea of overshooting beyond mild deterrence because I've never suggested the overshoot. Therefore, the mild deterrence portion of it's irrelevant. Second, the reason that this doesn't make sense. Pisco, when's the last time the Republicans packed the Supreme Court?
On whose notion of packing?
Yours.
With Merrick Garland.
Okay, how about before that?
With Ulysses S. Grant.
When was that, roughly?
1869.
Okay, so they've done it twice in like 150 years. And you're saying because of that, we need to add 4 seats to stop them doing it. It sounds like they're not doing it. It sounds like it's an aberration. It happened twice in 150 years. So you have no evidence that this is something that's going to keep happening in perpetuity. The only chance that it happens is if you incentivize it. Conversely, the things I'm talking about, for example, Democrats rioting and engaging, those are occurring on a daily basis. Lawfare of going after Trump and people connected to him, that's occurring on a daily basis. Constant impeachments, those are occurring. The actions I'm talking about are occurring over and over. And so it's like, it's not going to stop until they face
I'll
equal
respond
treatment.
to that.
You're talking about deterring something that doesn't occur, that's occurred twice in 150 years by your own definition.
So I'm happy to respond to that. So just because they haven't done it since Merrick Garland doesn't mean they wouldn't do it if similar conditions prevailed afterwards. And so that's what we're concerned about.
Why isn't Trump doing it now?
Yeah, because they already have a conservative stacked court.
But wait a minute. Whoa. That makes no sense.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does make sense. So let me respond fully to what you're saying, right? Are you okay, Avi? You're okay, right?
I'm okay.
Come on, take it.
We will keep going. Okay. I'm trying
to keep it. All right, go ahead.
The next time the Democrats take a majority on the Supreme Court, if they try to, Republicans, on our view, are going to pull out all the stops to try to undo that majority court. And we need to establish the norm right now and the precedent right now that they better not try to do that because we'll respond in kind. That's the response to that. That the condition which would require them to, they've already succeeded, in other words, in capturing the court on that view.
Okay, so what you're saying is, yeah, it's an aberration. It's happened 2 times in 150 years. But you just know, given the chance that they might do this, therefore you need to preemptively do it. That's your argument. And that justifies
that they've shown them.
Where? Show me.
In this modern era
them
of
saying that we're going to pack the court.
Yeah. So they've shown themselves as willing to do this in the modern era, and if the Democrats, it's our belief. Now you can say that belief's unreasonable. Do we just disagree on the reasonability of it? Wait, do you disagree that if the Democrats win the next presidential elections and all of a sudden naturally the court starts to skew to the left, that a Republican Party wouldn't try to undo that?
No, I think they would go within the system that's been given. And I can prove it. I can prove it. I don't need a hypothetical. We have the status quo.
You're a hack.
Your argument is, do you think Trump's really pissed off that his signature economic legislation of tariffs was revoked?
Yeah, he's
do you think he was pissed off that the case went against him on the National Guard?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he pack the court?
Yeah, but he doesn't have the power to right at this moment.
What do you mean he doesn't? Why aren't they even suggesting it?
Yeah, because it doesn't inure to the Republicans' benefit at the moment to fuck with the court even more.
Why doesn't it? Why wouldn't it benefit them to get what they want?
So that will categorize. So right now there's a fight in the Democratic Party about what we're talking about, and the Republicans doing even further court fuckery is that will actually rattle the nest for Democrats. 100% it would. And number 2, the Republicans in the Senate and Congress, they're not always 100% perfectly aligned with Trump on everything. You agree with this, Rob? That's your belief as well.
Correct.
Right?
So the idea that in the future they obviously would be to pack the court is nonsensical.
But they would team up with Trump to turn a liberal court into a conservative court, and they've done it before.
It's pure speculation.
They did it in Georgia. They did it in Georgia with the state Supreme Court there.
That's not the Supreme Court.
I know it's not, but it's about what they're willing to
now
do.
listen,
The Republicans are totally willing to do that.
Now, a couple things on this. One, then by the same justification, they were justified in doing it with Merrick Garland because Biden, who then became vice president and then president, said that's exactly what Democrats would do. They just hadn't had their chance yet. So Republicans were just preemptively. Secondly, I think Republicans. Let me finish.
Many times, it's crazy.
Let me finish. Second, I think Republicans who are not currently packing the Supreme Court, who you have no proof that they would in the future, but you're like, well, maybe they would. That's my belief. I think the same is true of Democrats because Democrats are actually announcing it. And so in order to deter that, I think Republicans should pack the court now. That would deter it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be justified in doing it.
Why not?
Because you don't have a justification for it.
One, I think that court packing is horrible. Do you agree? Premise one.
Unless it's a justified court packing.
Court packing in general is terrible.
All else equal, I agree it's bad.
Okay. Number two, it would be a huge positive thing that we should try to achieve to end all court packing.
Yeah, I think it would be hugely positive to end it.
Number three, Republicans packing the court now will lead to deterrence.
I don't necessarily agree with that, no.
Why not? By the same rationale that Democrats packing the court will lead to deterrence, Republicans packing the court will lead to deterrence.
Well, I suppose to the extent that it's inducing the Democrats to do this, great big struggle for the Supreme Court, perhaps. But in general, it wouldn't be justified for the other reasons, right?
It doesn't matter. We're not talking about your syllogism. We're talking about mine. We're talking about mine. You have already accepted premise one. You accepted premise two. Premise three, you have to admit, yes, it would deter court packing. Four, therefore, Republicans should pack the court.
No, that doesn't follow.
Why not? You agreed to the syllogism. You just agreed.
It's not valid.
Why not? Premise one, court packing bad. That we should reject it, right?
So all else equal, as amended, right? All else equal, court packing bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Premise two, if Republicans pack the court now, it would deter court packing in the future and have a chance to end it.
In the way that we're describing, I might even grant that.
Okay. Premise three, it is a noble goal and something we should do to end court packing.
All else equal, again, in general, yes.
And therefore, conclusion, Republicans should pack the court.
It's invalid.
Why is it invalid?
I don't know what to tell you.
Why is it invalid?
Because the conclusion doesn't follow from the premises.
Why doesn't it? It absolutely, Avi, does the conclusion follow from the premises?
In a formal system, it would take the form of P, Q, R, therefore S.
You agree?
What you would want to do is you want to. So it might be you might be able to formalize it in a way that it is valid, as that specific literal form is technically not a valid form in formal logic. What you would want to do is you would want to structure it such that if the premises are true, the conclusion needs to follow in a formal system. So you can use certain inference rules like modus ponens or modus tollens. You can say if
dumb it down for us rednecks if you can.
So you
aren't you debate coach?
Yeah, we don't do not everything's philosophy and syllogisms like this. So I'm intuitively correct, as Avi knows.
So when we speak of when we're talking about a valid argument, we're talking about an argument that there really is no way the premises can be true and the conclusion can be false, and that's structured. That can be shown in a formal system.
Okay, so if I did it in a way, it would hypothetically, given what Pisco's just conceded to, would still, if I just formed it in a different way, would be valid.
You might be able to.
I mean, it's intuitively. He can't give a reason why it's not the case. If it is a goal, something we should shoot for to deter court packing, and if Republicans packing the court now leads to ultimate deterrence, right? Therefore, Republicans should pack the court to lead to ultimate deterrence.
Yeah, but I'm just not gonna bite on some of the premises that are missing there, and
like
some
what?
of the
Go
notions
ahead,
that
give me an example.
Required.
Give me an example.
Yeah. So one is an effective remedy that it might be done in such a way, and Republicans being as they are, that Democrats won't get the opportunity to respond in kind. And I do think that Republicans are capable of doing that.
So same argument could be made about your syllogism.
Yeah,
Wait. I promise I'll shut up then. Every argument Pisco's about to make would be a defeater to his syllogism as well. Democrats could set it up in a way that Republicans would never get power. Why can Republicans do it but not Democrats? Go ahead, explain why.
Well, hang on a second. That's nowhere in my argument or in your hypothetical argument.
You just said that a defeater to my syllogism.
You should prepare. So, Rob, this is what you should do. Okay, this is what you should do. All right, you should take some time. You should take some time. You should take some time. You should take some time and think about it, and then write it out.
I am thinking about it. Very simple. Two premises, conclusion. Your argument to those premises of one, we should do everything we can, or it is a noble goal to try to end court picking. Why? Give me your reasons. Let's go through them one by one. Go ahead. Argument one. Go ahead.
Avi just told you the form of the argument is invalid.
Doesn't matter. Tell me why this is incorrect.
It matters. So I don't have to.
How is it? Without Avi, you tell me why it's invalid.
Because the conclusion doesn't necessarily follow from the.
Why doesn't it?
By definition.
Okay, you're acknowledging that we should try to
the truth table. There's at least one case where you could come up with a hypothetical case where all the premises are true and the conclusion doesn't follow.
Give me an example if you can come up with one.
It just does. It's invalid, Rob. I don't know what to tell you.
Wait! You just said you could come up with one example. Give it.
No. If you were to construct a truth table, you could do so.
Okay,
so,
give it to me.
So for example, the conclusion is something about they should do it, right? That's nowhere in one of the premises. That
sure,
term,
we
that they should
try to deter and end court packing. Yes, that's one of the premises.
Where?
Premise one.
Wait, no, we should deter, but it doesn't mean that Republicans should court pack. Do you understand that?
We should deter.
Different.
Do you accept the premise we should deter court packing?
In general, yes.
Do you accept the premise if Republicans pack the court, it will deter future court packing?
Yeah, all I'll see, again, that it's going to be context dependent. I mean,
therefore, conclusion, Republicans should pack the court to deter court packing. Explain to me why that's not the case. Go ahead, explain it to me, Pisco. You don't like it when people play the syllogism game with you.
No, it's invalid, Rob. Rob, it's invalid.
Tell me why.
Because the conclusion doesn't necessarily follow even if the premises are true.
Give me an example. You said you'd give an example. Give one.
Yes, so it could be the case that in general it's okay, it's important to, or they should deter court packing. It could be the truth that that maybe the case that you present it would deter court packing in the long run, and notwithstanding that that Republicans shouldn't court pack. For example, there could be a consequence cascade argument that is different run here as opposed to somewhere else. Okay, there could be other reasons that make it different.
Okay, I'll add another premise. There is no reason to expect a severe consequence cascade. That's given
it's still invalid. It's invalid. It's invalid.
By the way, that's intuited by the fact that you're acknowledging that it would be deterrence. Deterrence means there's no knowledge to expect a severe consequence cascade because it's deterring.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So give me the reason it's invalid.
I don't know what to, because the conclusion doesn't fall.
Of course
from
it
the premises. That's why it's invalid.
Here's something we agree is good. We should do. Here's an action that does that. Therefore, we should do it.
Yeah,
that's valid.
I don't know what to tell you.
Right,
the form of the argument is invalid.
Wow, let's do another syllogism while we're on it. Wow, this is great. I have a syllogism for you. You ready? Now listen carefully. Premise one. If there was an injurious partisan FISA warrant abuse, and there's no effective way to reverse it without FISA warrant abuse.
All right, Rob.
Let me finish. The proposed.
By the way, there was a meme about when you would bring up FISA, just so you know.
Okay, great.
So whoever was making that bet, congratulations.
Well, Rob's got good arguments, and he'll make them great. And the proposed reciprocal abuse doesn't overshoot beyond mild deterrence, and there's no reason to expect a severe consequence cascade. Then the injured party is justified in reciprocal FISA warrant abuse. Premise 2, there was injurious partisan FISA warrant abuse. Premise 3, there's no effective way to reverse it without FISA warrant abuse. Number 4, the proposed reciprocal abuse doesn't overshoot beyond mild deterrence. Number 5, there's no reason to expect a severe consequence cascade. Number 6, the injured party is the Trump administration. Number 7, therefore conclusion, the Trump administration is justified in utilizing FISA abuse.
Yeah, if you're just imposing the FISA stuff there for all the where it's relevant, I think it'll be valid, but it's just unsound.
Why? Why is it unsound?
But I don't want to get into it. Yeah, we can have a debate about that. We can schedule.
No. Why don't you tell me why?
Yeah,
because listen, what's happening is
we're not derailing the FISA, Rob. Well, we can't do the FISA debate again right now. But I can tell you which premise I disagree with if you want.
No. Wait. Because right now there's a lot of people.
I'm not doing that. I refuse.
Let me. I know you refuse.
I refuse to FISA warrant.
Then I'll
no, we can schedule. We can schedule it. We can schedule it.
To our esteemed
we can schedule the FISA one.
Can I ask you a question, Avi?
You've been asking me questions.
Thank you. Would you acknowledge that I seem somewhat of someone who's maybe not the proficient in syllogisms and like sort of the formal rules of logic? Would you? That seems fair to say. I don't take it as an insult. Right. I'm like Pisco here.
Yes.
Okay. Do you also acknowledge that probably a good, healthy proportion of the audience also is in the same boat?
Sure.
So wouldn't it help to have some like, okay, here's one example. Now let's give an almost completely analogous example on the other side. Now, Pisco, who clearly, as he just exhibited with the syllogism on Republicans back in court, clearly he understands logic. So if Pisco could explain why my syllogism is, quote, valid but not sound, maybe that will help the rest of us understand his syllogism. So Pisco, can you tell me why it's not sound?
I think he said it was not valid.
Because some of the premises are false.
No, he said it's valid but not sound.
No. Yeah, so if he just substitutes for the relevant things, like the FISA abuse stuff, I think it'll be valid.
I see the mirror argument with FISA. Then it would be valid. Yeah.
Okay, so it's valid. What's not sound mean? Explain that to me.
That one of the premises is false.
Which one?
Or the form is off, but like
is
in
the form
a valid
off,
one.
Well, let's take it a step at a time. First, is
no,
the form
I'm not. So no, I don't think the form is off.
Okay, so then which premise is unsound?
The notion of the consequence cascade.
There won't be a consequence. Why would there be a consequence cascade? This is deterrence.
Yeah. Wait, no. I'm just telling you which premises are false. And,
why is that?
I'm not going to get into FISA.
Let's do one-on-one. One-to-one. Why weren't you? Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid? Because you know it is an exact apples to apples
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. We can schedule that. Yeah. So I would disagree with the fact that there was injurious partisan FISA warrant process. None of our official investigations figured that out. That wasn't. But that doesn't mean it was injurious partisan.
Of course it does.
In terms of rule breaking and law breaking, certainly you think that it's self-evident that abuse of the FISA process leads to a consequence cascade, and so you and I probably agree.
I think it'll ultimately lead to a deterrence.
Wait, this has been your entire cause, Rob.
I'm accepting your framework.
But this is disingenuous because you don't believe it. You think the FISA warrant process was an insane situation.
Wait. Why does what I really believe matter? We're just talking about the syllogism here. What I really believe is irrelevant. That's what you said to Ryan.
But it's
we're just talking about the syllogism. Why is that wrong? You explained to me in your words why it won't lead to a cascade of consequences.
No. I'm saying you agree with me on that proposition. That's relevant.
No. It doesn't matter what I believe.
On
That's
that premise.
irrelevant.
Sorry, sir.
I'm asking you. You tell me what matters is if you think the premise is valid, or if you think the premise is valid.
Yeah.
Do you think it would lead to a severe consequence cascade?
I of course think that.
Why? Explain how that would work.
I'm doing it right now. Yeah. So I think the consistent and persistent knowing violation of rights indexed to for partisan reasons is one of the most dangerous things in the world. I mean, that's why I'm so against what the Trump administration is doing is the political prosecution. It's different.
Why? Explain the difference.
So with respect to the partisan influences by the political branches of government in areas in which that's an expectation, which there's no constitutional violation or illegality entailed. That's different than the exercise of partisan judgment when it comes to prosecutions in criminal law, where there is illegality. It's repugnant to the Constitution to do partisan prosecution. That's illegal. I take it to be illegal.
Oh, well, wait a minute. So then what happened to the Trump team was repugnant and illegal?
With respect to the FISA warrant process, so one of the
point I'm trying to get the legality of it
warrant,
would be irrelevant to the. You said that there won't be a severe consequence cascade. I'm asking, how do you know that?
No,
I'm asking just on that premise. We're taking it one at a time. No. Tell me, you said there won't be a severe consequence cascade. Explain why wouldn't that occur?
Yeah.
Or there would be one. Explain.
There would be. Yeah, there would be. So there would be because as you're seeing, with rampant political abuses and rampant political exercises of criminal investigatory power, it leads to massive decrease in loss in faith in the rule of law. It leads to massive, what you're seeing, corruption, where people are just doing pay for play and bribes right now that you won't even contend, playing the stock market, a lot of these crypto scammers and shit. So massive amounts of consequences there. And also, every one of these are constitutional rights violations that we care about.
Irrelevant to the consequence cascade.
No. It is relevant. It is law breaking is relevant as a consequence.
Norm breaking is relevant as well, right?
Yeah, norm breaking is relevant,
same
but
thing.
I'm gonna prize law violation and abuse of criminal process higher than just norm violation. And you do too, Rob, and Rob, and you do too. And you agree with me on this premise because you agree with me on this premise. You agree with me. This is your cause. This is what you're saying is one of the worst things that's ever happened.
It's irrelevant to what I agree with. The question is why giving the
no,
logic.
it's relevant what you believe.
What matters is what you believe. You have given the rationale that is absurd on its face. As soon as the mirror is shown to you, you immediately start going through the premise. You immediately start going through the premise. You're like, let me finish. You're like, of course there'd be a severe consequence cascade. It'll cause the Democrats and other people to do this and they'll weaponize. But when it comes to packing the court, you're like, trust me, bro, it won't lead to a cascade of consequences.
Yeah, one is true and one is not. I don't know what to tell you. But I'm done with the FISA stuff. I'm done with the FISA stuff. So we can schedule we can schedule a debate. We can schedule a debate on FISA.
It's not a syllogism I agree with. Why would I schedule it? It's a mirror to show the absurdity.
What's absurd? Wait. So it's
your
premises.
Your syllogism.
These are different premises. I almost said a bad word. I almost said a bad word, Rob. You're not gonna get me to say it. These are different premises. You fucking idiot.
It's literally 2 words changed. The subject is changed. Other than that, it is literally the exact premises. And when we're talking, the mirror is. Let me finish.
If I change Gandhi and Hitler, I'm only changing one little word. Are you fucking stupid?
The word's just an utterance, right? The actual definition's unimportant anyways. And the point is that when you look at these when you look at these individual premises, what it does is it shows you, because you argue in bad faith. You know that there will be a cascade of... Would you please be quiet and let me finish?
Stupid bad faith.
Would you please be quiet and let me finish? So what happens is you know that these premises are absurd when it comes to your premises. And as soon as someone mirrors it in the other way that would be negative,
premises, you fucking idiot.
Please stop. As soon as someone mirrors, for example, would these actions lead to severe consequence cascade? You're just like, trust me, bro. Obviously, if one side does this, then the other side be more likely. But not court packing. Why? Well, because I know they wouldn't. I know that wouldn't occur. I know they'd be deterred. Where's your evidence?
That's not what I said.
Trust me, bro. Trust me at some point in the future. Trust me at some point in the future.
You're so bad faith. You're incapable of even repeating back what I'm saying. You're just like, oh, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. As though that's what I said. I'm not. I'm done with FISA. Avi is dead. We can come back to this at a future date.
When you say
you got totally crushed and owned.
Can you explain to me again how it leads to deterrence? Go ahead. The court package. Go ahead.
In my defense, it is 3 a.m. over here.
It's 3 a.m. Okay. It's 3 a.m. I don't want to subject Avi anymore to this.